Bible Word of the Day. Bible people. Belshazzar. Grandson to King Nebuchadnezzar. Let's discuss about Belshazzar. Belshazzar was the grandson of the famous Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was the king whom God called the head of gold when speaking of the kingdoms which would rule the known world between Daniel the prophet's time and the return of Jesus. His father was Nabonidus, son of Nebuchadnezzar. Belshazzar was serving as a regent during his father's absence. His father Nabonidus left Babylon for an extended stay in the Arabian city of Timah. Nabonidus was the last Neo-Babylonian king and his son Belshazzar the last regent before the fall of Babylon to the Persian king Cyrus in 539 BC. Belshazzar's actions caused the Lord to take the kingdom away and give it to Cyrus the king of Persia. The Bible tells us the story in Daniel chapter 5. God had to humble Nebuchadnezzar in the past, and Belshazzar knew these details. He, himself, had heard the stories, and he was well aware of the arrogance of Nebuchadnezzar before the Lord. He also knew that after God had chastised and humbled Nebuchadnezzar, his grandfather praised and honored God. Nebuchadnezzar honored the God of Israel and made an edict throughout the land. However, despite this knowledge, Belshazzar did not honor the Lord. Instead he mocked God. Therefore, God took the kingdom away from Belshazzar and gave it to Cyrus king of Persia. Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While he tasted the wine, Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple which had been in Jerusalem, that the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines might drink from them. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the temple of the house of God which had been in Jerusalem, and the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines drank from them. In the same hour the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace, and the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened, and his knees knocked against each other. O king, the Most High God gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a kingdom and majesty, glory, and honor. But you his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this. And you have lifted yourself up against the Lord of heaven. They have brought the vessels of his house before you, and you and your lords, your wives and your concubines, have drunk wine from them. And you have praised the gods of silver and gold, bronze and iron, wood and stone, which do not see or hear or know, and the God who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not glorified. Your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Daniel 5 verses 1 to 28.